So talk about this. How have you been able to stay in business for so long and being successful where so many others fail?
Yeah. So in all candor and honesty is it really is about reinventing yourself. That's been the theme. As we started in software, we started doing computer sales and we started doing some networking sales. So we're reinventing the retail software. And then we started doing some software development stuff. So kind of reinventing ourselves, not going to be all things to all people, not doing everything, but really inventing and focusing on that space to broaden the business. From there, we reinvented into network integration because we started to stand up a lot of regional networks, wide area networks, rolling out 3Com, which is around anymore, 3Com, Cisco, all that stuff, supporting those networks and doing a variety of different services. So we reinvented into the network integration business. And then out of that, we spun into the MSP business. So we started managing on a contract, different services. Security was a subset of that. It wasn't the big thing. So that was a whole genre. And then here the last, 6 years, really, I would even say 4 or 5 years, just about, since coming into COVID and stuff, we really have hyper focused on our cybersecurity solutions and we lead with that. So we're really leading with a security first mindset on how we approach everything because a lot of the MSP services that you still need and have to be delivered, they really need to have a security first thought process to them. So we lead with cybersecurity. So that reinvention, as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, we're really in our kind of our 5th iteration or reinvention ourselves. And I think that's not always easy to pivot. It's not always easy to do. And there are some, ups and downs, if you will, in terms of business flow, revenue. I mean, there's impacts to the business as you transition because when you start to shift, you may not have as much energy. You're not focusing on selling that stuff anymore, but you're still ramping more business, more clients in the more pure cyber stuff. So this has been a real part of our evolution.
So each day, how do you decide what to focus on each day?
Well, that's always challenging. I mean, I think everybody kind of has personal methods and philosophies about that. For me, I'm really big on proactive. And so I try to look through the lens of proactive things. So I'm a kind of a calendar Nazi. I put everything in my calendar and I'm driven by my calendar to the extent that I can. It's not that you can't create margin for things along the way. Sometimes I even build in margin, right? Proactive research, proactive study. I'm going to write some more, working on an AI book, by the way. Visual Ops AI, imagine that. And it's about half done. But yeah, so I really look through, proactive, prioritization of things. And then I think, we really, my business, really divided, sales, operations, and then the business is what I call it. That's just my little philosophy, if you will. So sales and marketing are, of course, brother and sister. They're part and parcel together. So I'll spend a certain amount of time on the sales marketing pieces, make sure that we're on track. And whether it's sales and we're looking at pipeline and all those kinds of things, or if it's marketing, we're looking at how do we take all this great thought leadership and get it out there? Maybe go on some podcasts that are pretty cool. So that kind of marketing stuff that we do. And then, of course, in the operations side, for us, that's our, technical operations center. I have of course, a director of tech ops. And he runs the teams, the security teams and the ops teams. And so making sure that we're following the best practices, that we eat our own dog food. So we have a lot of tooling, if you will, around the process that we talk about. It's called ITSM, IT Service Management. Our ITIL tools, they're ITIL compliant. So we use a tool that's a service management tool that manages our tickets, our assets, all those kind of things. And then, of course, all the cyber stack tooling that I shared without. And so the operations piece, and then customer satisfaction, delivery, looking at the threat landscape, new things that we want to be ahead of, and on top of try to be proactive about those things. I cautiously, talk about, not real openly, but we've really never had a breach. Mm-hmm. So that's a pretty interesting factor. I don't go on and on about that because.
So after all these years, what's still exciting you about cybersecurity?
Interesting. It's probably back to the altruistic part a little bit. The reason I wrote, the book is, I really enjoy the idea of helping people, improve their cybersecurity posture and really defending against all the bad actors. I mean, I'm kind of one of those people, there's a lot of things in life that can get to you, but one of my peeves is thievery and stealing and that kind of thing. And that just irks me to no end. And I think it's unfair. And there's so many innocent victims and even, collateral damage when records are stolen. When they're stolen, medical records, where there's just a lot out there. So there really is an altruistic part about really raising the tide that floats the boats with all companies, small, medium, large enterprises, all having better cybersecurity and really shutting down the bad guys to the extent that we can shut them down. That really excites me. I love that part of it. And of course, I'm a business guy. I'm an entrepreneur. So I've started companies, I've grown several successful companies. So I love that. But cyber, as you can tell, for the stuff I could get involved in, I always kind of gravitate back to the cybersecurity stuff. It's kind of that tech kid in me that loves
I can tell you kind of keep it like a certain level. I know I see like if you want to geek out, you just geek out, do deep dives, like next detail, Like I can imagine like actual cybersecurity podcast, right? Where the other guy does with you, like the other stuff you talk about.
Yeah, I really do enjoy the technology itself. Maybe, and I self-invest maybe a little too much because sometimes that distracts a little bit from the business and growing the business and those kinds of things. But lately, we're in a really good pace. We're in a really great place. I'm thrilled about getting the book out there, the message out there. I'd love for people to read it. Yeah, I'm excited.
So for the book, I wanted someone to read the whole book. I said, hey, Scott, I can read one chapter. What chapter should they read out of your book?
I'd probably say Chapter 3, that's probably my thing, which is the efficacy of IT processes, because I've alluded to that a lot today, that those are foundational. They apply not only to cybersecurity, but to better IT. So they apply in both cases. I think that's probably the one I would point people to the most, the quickest. But of course, you're probably reading the book because you want to make sure that you've got a good, solid cybersecurity posture. You want to make improvements. Maybe you want to manage your team. Maybe you want to give a copy to your team. Again, the big book is pretty deep, technical. It's not like, getting down to every little detail, in terms of hands-on, how do you actually program a firewall? But it does get into some methods that, a typical person's like, hey, zero trust. You can skim through and get the concept of zero trust. A lot of what I shared today. I think there's a lot of value in the rest of the book, but Chapter 3.
Why do you think so many people have bought the book or been avid fans of the book?
I think because it's different. We tend to be, the geek side is always looking for that next technology to deploy or implement. Again, we call it the shiny toy effect. It's a little bit the enemy of good IT and cybersecurity. And my version of that is back to I've repeated a couple of times, a fool to tool is still a fool. Like this new shiny toy. Oh, this is going to do this. Oh, that's cool. How do we deploy that? And they get all enamored with it and we're all, distracted and we're all hyper-focused and myopic on deploying one new software solution, tool, cybersecurity, whatever it is. And I think that's a problem. That's problematic because you have to look at it in layers. You got to step up and look at the big picture, and then you got to be really smart. And we manage by fact, not by belief. There's a lot of research and study around the stuff that I write on. It's not just something that's got made up. It really is backed by research. If you look at my book, you'll see I have crazy amounts of sightings and references in there. Every page is cited and referenced. It's not my opinion. It's fact. And so one tool I can tell you as a fact is not going to solve your cybersecurity posture. It's not going to make it. One alone is not going to do the job.
So how hard or easy is it to publish a book on Amazon? How the process work?
Yeah, so so I have the IT Process Institute. It's kind of my publishing, partner house, if you will, that we published our other stuff and even some of our white papers to that. That we do a firm of releasing different things in the ITDI. But so we've been through this a little bit, but anymore it's gotten easier because nowadays when we kind of have the final manuscript ready to book, we can actually upload it. The team can upload it into Amazon, and they do print on demand. It's pretty cool. So they can give you a hardback cover, version. They give you a softback cover version. They can, we easily can convert it into a Kindle version as it's available in all those. Actually, I use their AI tool, and we actually made the audio version with their AI tool. So it's pretty simple with Amazon. They're a great, easy, simple way. And most everybody has access to Amazon and can get the material however they want it. Some are visuals, some are listeners, some want a book in their hand. So it's pretty simtle.
So the book is a source of revenue for you, or is it more like a sales funnel or like a combination?
Yeah, it's really a combination, but more sales, more credibility as I share board. I'm not going to lie. I mean, people you wrote a 400-page book on cybersecurity. I mean, you obviously
you want to have no life, right?
You must know something about cybersecurity. You can produce that kind of content over the from that, which a lot of it's from over the years. But so there's the credibility piece is really important for our marketing and sales. I think just establishing that we really are, again, we're really coming at this through a very thoughtful thought leadership approach, looking at the best practices, looking at the best frameworks, thinking about compliance and process, zero trust thinking, these kinds of things are really powerful for the book. And then I think the executive vision, which I'm excited about, really is something, hey, I don't want to get in the geeks and I appreciate all the other stuff and maybe there's value, but I don't got a little bit of time. I'm not ready for a 5-page book, but give me a 100-page book and I'll flip it and take a look. So that's why I produced that book.
Talk about the process of writing your book. Do you write an hour a day? You have outline, just knock it all once. You have how you do that? Yeah.
So earlier, I'm going to sound a little bit counterintuitive to what I said or hypocritical, where I like to be proactive and think the book process is not the way. I woke up 2 nights ago a little bit in a frantic going, wait a second, we need to map all of our security solution services to the CIS top 18 controls. Why I thought of that and why it woke me up in the middle of the night, I have no idea. But I can tell you this, when I got to my computer the next morning, man, the first thing I'm working on is how we going to map the top CIS 18 cybersecurity controls to the service solution that IP Services delivers. So it kind of comes to me in bits and pieces, and when it does, I go write it down. And then at some point, a couple of times I went back and said, okay, are there gaps here? What am I doing? Where am I going with this? There, oddly enough, seems to be a little bit of rhyme to the rhythm of what I'm writing, and it kind of makes sense. And one of the chapters, the last chapter in my book, is called The Golden Thread. And what I do there is I really weave a common, like the needle through the golden thread, right? I'm weaving a needle through all of the chapters and how they build upon each other.